So the best of 5 finals is here. So we'll talk about English sayings later. It is a PvZ, believe it or not. It is very rarely a ZERG matchup. PvZ probably the least likely. No, ZvZ would be the least likely. But PvZ is up there as far as least likely finals for the European Open Cup. In the top left, we have MaxPax. In the bottom right, it is Lambo. Lambo defeating Denver and Spirits to get here, I believe. So he has not been tested so much in ZvP. He did also defeat Spats, so that was ZvP, but Lambo should be favored against Spats. If Lambo is favored against anyone, I guess I would say Protoss. I would expect him to actually lose against Spirit. So Lambo has a big old brain. So he's usually pretty good at ZvP, which I think is a lot about just understanding the ebb and flow and setting up good situations. Whereas TvZ is very mechanical. And while ZvZ, I think, is also sometimes maybe more strategic. And people disagree that TvZ is the most mechanically demanding. So Lambo has often lacked the mechanics on the day of some of the matches, where I think he's shown us really great TvZ before, but then on some days it just doesn't really feel all that great. And Spirit is definitely not what he used to be 5-6 months ago, where you're just like, okay, like he's beatable. He's very good. So Lambo's clearly feeling it. He's feeling good. He's doing good things. And I would say this is his best chance to win a European Open final. But it's still not an exceptionally good chance, is it? MaxPax maybe is being talked about mostly because right now people really desperately need help in PvT. His PvZ is not talked about mostly because it's still just good, right? Like it's there. It's always there. It's always fine. And it's not really a problematic matchup, I think, as far as the community is concerned. So we focus a lot on his PvTs. And he plays a lot of PvTs because he plays in the European Open Cup. But his PvZ is pretty freaking good. I'm actually not sure what their most recent results would be. It feels like it happens so rarely. But I am thinking MaxPax is favored. But Lambo did most recently win. Oh my god, look at this gigantic. Okay, here I'm gonna speak the full name of the Swiss format that they played in. You ready, guys? 3 days ago they played. MaxPax lost 1-2 versus Lambo in the ESL Pro Tour 2023-24 StarCraft 2 Masters 2023 Summer Regionals Europe Main Event Group Stage Group B Round 4 Upper. I hope you got that. It's going to be a quiz later. And before that, they actually had not played for 5 months. The MaxPax did win that, then it was Lambo, then it was MaxPax. Actually very, very evenly matched between the two. Slightly favored towards MaxPax. There was a period of time 2 years ago when he was just dominating, but yeah, very recently, it's very even between the two. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, I'm glad to confirm it. I'm still kind of leaning towards MaxPax because I've been very impressed with him today. But that's unfair. I have not seen any of Lambo's games today. I just know he got here. So, yeah, I guess we'll find out who's playing better, who's playing best. Game number 1 on Neo Humanity. MaxPax is opening up with a usual Oracle opener, actually keeping that Oracle at home, so he's not revealing that he's got it yet. The Overlord, I'm not sure if it saw Warp Gate first or whatever, but MaxPax is hiding his intentions, and he might have hidden them even further with his Warp Gate timing. In fact, I think he did. I don't think Lambo would be getting a Roach Warren if he knew it was a Stargate. MaxPax also making sure to clear out any of those pesky scouting lings, and this will be a very big surprise. No Spore Crawlers are ready. Queens are prepared at the third base, so the Oracle should not head there. So far, so good. Lambo in a little bit of trouble, because even if he handles this, he has not had the ideal build order. MaxPax successfully confused the poor guy. Now using the Oracles just to kill the Queens that were in the main base. The Oracles do want to help the Adepts, though, with the Lings, too. They get a little help there, but the Adepts are now left alone, and that Oracle needs to skedaddle. Spore Crawler will finish up. Lambo only losing 2 drones, but even though that sounds like okay, and I guess it really could have been a lot worse, again, keep in mind how unideal Lambo's build order is because he was shocked. So he did not skip the Roachborn. Is like the biggest example, which he could have done if he had known what this is. Then he built a lot of Lings to try and defend against those Adepts, which he needed to do, but he then, you know, he made 30 Lings that are not drones, which had he known exactly what was happening, he might have been able to get away with making 16 Lings, getting this around in the 4 Adepts while they were coming across the map, and, you know, the Oracles would have been dancing around the, the drone lines in a different type of game. So, yeah, it's, I mean, it's tit for tat, really. MaxPax not finding a lot of success with his opener, not, you know, diving on top of a completely undefended natural and killing 20 drones, but there's the things to consider for both sides. Some German bureaucracy with the most recent game they played. So the Stalker follow-up, I like it. You know what I like even more? The Double Forge. And I like it not because of how strategically masterful it is or whatever. No, I just like it because it's fun. I much prefer this style of PvZ. And the Double Forge doesn't always happen, but certainly Stalkers have gotten more popular and still remain somewhat popular. I mean, they were literally every game for a little while there, but the Double Forge, a little bit of a twist on it. It's going to go ahead and provide that aggression that Stalkers are also known for, and you cover their retreats with Blink and Oracles and Stasis Traps. This is a really nice map to do this on. I can definitely see what MaxPax is thinking. He's going to try and make sure that Lambo cannot get away with a forward base in that rich Vespian Geyser, and then take his own base in that forward direction as well, so that he's both attacking and kind of defending. It's not exactly made out to be that way with the rocks being broken here, but or not broken, I suppose. But I can kind of see the thought process. Sling run by on that third base, just killed 2 Stalkers. MaxPax not finding a whole lot of room here, and Lambo actually going to go ahead and break these cooling towers, or at least keep them vulnerable so that he could break them. I'm just going to break them. All right, fair enough. But like, he could have also just kept them at 10% health, and then MaxPax couldn't actually enter into the zone without fear being crushed. Just crushes them. Just lets it all fall down. Further blocks protecting Lambo's 4th base. This 5th is more of a accessory than a main fashion item. It's like his purse instead of his t-shirt. The real big deal is that Lambo has got his 4 bases up, 82 workers, and one of those bases has a rich Vespian Geyser. Very nice. Lambo's getting into some Ling Hydra and moving on over to Lurkers. Lickety splits. He is also getting up to his Banelings, but as of yet has not really needed a massive amount of Banelings, so no hurry on the simple hooks, no hurry on building the Banelings, really just making his macro as perfect as possible after the initial blip that was misidentifying the build. You know, he did kind of get a little bamboozled, but that bamboozle did not end the game. It wasn't heavily favored towards MaxPax, so now that he's got everything worked out, 5 bases, all the drones, heading into that macro game, Lambo is once again settled. He's ready to go. He's ready to move into his next phase, which is going to be Lurkers. And then once those Lurkers are out, MaxPax is going to be all on the defensive. And I'm actually a little surprised that MaxPax is... I mean, letting this happen is a bit of a strong way of putting it. I don't know if MaxPax really do anything else, honestly, with how well set up Lambo is. There is no vulnerable spot right now for Lambo. But yeah, I was going to say he should probably be moving over into Stargates. There's only a limited amount of time that Protoss have, a ground Protoss army has, to work against Lurkers. They either have to already be winning, complete control of the map, or they have to, I guess, get like lucky disruptor shots, or be up to those Stargates. So MaxPax is moving on. That's certainly something he should be doing. 5th base is on the way, static defense as well. One hell of a PvZ macro game. So you would. MaxPax's gonna have some beautiful upgrades on units that won't win against Lurkers anyways, so that's a bit unfortunate. It's like, yeah, 3/3 Stalkers. Just kidding, +1 Lurkers. Nah. And those Lurkers are building up in numbers and building up their upgrades as well. The range will be finishing in 10 seconds, burrow speed afterwards. Not completely necessary, but will be helpful to move around the Lurkers, dodge out of disruptor shots, potentially. Lambo with some of his own static defense already set up, is not taking really any damage from these little bit of Zealot run-bys. Oh, look at that. 1 disruptor, 2 disruptor, actually. Oh, unfortunately placed. There we go, killing one of those lurkers finally. MaxPax needed more time to buy. He does have shield body overcharge. He does have a good army. I mean, that's actually not the most intimidating fact. Like, that was not a very good push-in. You know, you basically just showed your best units face first, and so they could get easily sniped. I say easily, we did miss an opportunity there, but Stasis Trap takes it out into burrows? What? Whoa, that's weird. Disruptors are hitting the lurkers that are not revealed. Oh, that's a temporary thing. This one lurker's still getting a lot of damage done. There was an unsuccessful run-by attempt that Lambo was hoping would really distract MaxPax. It didn't. So MaxPax makes this hold look really easy, and Lambo actually just kind of looks like he expected this to be way easier than it was. Like, oh, I'll just, like, you know, like, throw the lurkers up the ramp. Like, yeah, that's fine. Had he had 15 lurkers with both upgrades, burrow speed included, and he just moved them all into one location, like, that might have actually been very scary. But he had, you know, 4 lurkers here, 4 lurkers there, burrow speed wasn't done, so they didn't really ground themselves all that quickly. It was not very well done. MaxPax trying to get some counterattack damage done. So far, not so good. Kind of a similar situation, actually. MaxPax like, I know, I'll move into you. Okay, that didn't go well either. Yeah. Zealot run by, try and distract Lambo. Finally takes care of those spine crawlers, but lurkers will take care of it now. MaxPax loves his double upgrades. I'm all for it, man. Double forge, now double Cyber X-Core. 2-2 for the ground army, working on 1-1 for the air army. A couple of Tempests are already big help in case the lurkers did try to come back again with both their upgrades and with a heftier supply. But 3 or 4 Tempests will not stop the Zerg horde, not if Lambo's really intent on just pushing this into MaxPax's face. Eat it. Eat it. So MaxPax has got to be wary. Wants his ground army with him until he has a much heavier capital ship count. Lambo, I think, has to kind of realize that this ground Zerg army is also not going to work. You know, as far as matching each other's technology, it's been pretty fair. I was a little worried for MaxPax, but he timed it out well, and then he just held really well on the ground. And now I'm a little bit worried for Lambo. It is time for him to think about how he's going to deal with the air army. He is at least working on a single spire upgrade. There's the second spire. Yep, there you go. Because I think it's where the game is headed. Like, there's apparently no wiggle room in the middle of neo-humanity for either player to get across this line. There is a line drawn right here. These stasis traps have also been really good, honestly. Another disruptor shot hitting pretty nicely. Looks like Ling Baneling killing some of the reinforcements. We do not have detection. 3 oracles trying to get that detection. Ling's actually getting us around on Archons. Win that particular battle. +2 melee with adrenal glands. Hell of a drug. 13 probes will go down. MaxPax actually struggling mostly with the Lings. The lurkers are not the most important thing. They're almost more of a distraction to let the Lings do their thing. So the Lings did. They kill a Nexus. They kill 14 probes. They kill a handful of Archons. And they'll even take on the Zealots. I mean, 2-2 Zealots are not soft. But the amount of Lings and Cracklings with +3 melee now done as well is apparently too much for him. So MaxPax does need his 5th base back up, and he honestly needs to think about a 6th. He has used every penny of his minerals and gas to afford the transition over into just pure capital ships, which does not leave him with a lot of cash afterwards. I guess ditto for Lambo, who is starting to build up his Corruptor account, and Corruptors are hella expensive. So both of them not really building up that much of a bank. In fact, MaxPax staying capped out, despite losing that 5th base, is the one banking. On his way to 2-2 as well. He's still figuring to get some ground upgrades, and he is actually pushing here. Lambo not quite ready to set up, right? He's going to abandon ship on that base. The Rich Vespian Geyser was already depleted anyways, so I guess that's not the biggest of problems. But his Corruptor count's not at that comfortable count, especially if it's going to get targeted down. I believe he targeted down one of the Vipers. The second Viper does go down as well. Parasitic Bomb is affecting some of the battle, but really not a whole lot of it. But the Corruptors are giving chase. Nothing to stop the Corruptors from giving chase. That's the main problem right now. MaxPax getting a little too energized by that brief momentum. He did have the opportunity to kill the base, and he's like, oh, maybe I'll do this, but apparently not. Needed his mothership, needed his reinforcing capital ships, he needed a bit more on the ground, a couple more Archons maybe, and then I think he might have actually won then. Because Lambo's Corruptor count was not that impressive. It's certainly not up to that count that just runs in and runs out, right? Boom, carrier down, run away. 14 corruptors, I don't believe are one-shotting these units. I'm not gonna do the math. Not even gonna try. But the Vipers were sacrificed for that. 3 more have to be rebuilt. A lot of gas for Lambo, who does have a lot of gas. I mean, he's getting more, though. Okay, it definitely needs these gases down here. MaxPax did recover his 5th base. All well and good, but how about that 6th? Maybe right now he doesn't need it, as he once again is maxed out and banking up some cash. But one thing you certainly don't want to do is get into an extended ZvP where the ZERG player takes over all of the bases. MaxPax secures this base, and it would be rather secured, I would say, once it's up and running. That is, you know, 1 less base for Lambo to take. Not that realistically he would get this base, but if it's going to be a 50-minute game, I mean, he could. And simply put, there just might be an opportunity for MaxPax to sneak it in. So I guess it's not even about, you know, does Lambo take this base or not, because it's probably not going to happen. It's more, I guess, getting things done while you can. Because as the game goes on to 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes, the map is going to condense. It's going to be less minerals and gas available on the map, yes, but it's also going to mean that you're going to be fighting over very similar positions. You're going to be fighting over Lambo having this base and you having this base. So if you could just go ahead and soak up those minerals and gas before that scenario happens, I mean, you might be better off for it. And MaxPax is now attempting to grab that 6th, divvying up his army as well. Little hit squad of ground units over to the left, easily responded to by the lurkers. Thank you, the Real Ninja Turtle, for the 35 months. MaxPax's really good about keeping up on those upgrades, by the way. Like, they finish, and he's pretty much immediately on to the next. So he's gonna have 3-3 on his air soon enough. Feedback's not coming down, unfortunately, on those Vipers, so a couple of abducts happen, and a couple of carriers will die because of it. 20 Corruptors now seeming like a really good number, and they have 2-1 upgrades. But Lambo also needs to get back on his upgrades, too. The Lurkers that were initially there to defend are joined by Lings, which are now trying to engage the 5th. What they did do, because they didn't get on top of the 5th, what they did see is that the Mothership is going to try and transport the army. I love it. I love the mobility. You can recall back to a Nexus if things go sideways, but it has been telegraphed. You know, Lambo saw that coming, and it did not hit anything particularly useful. To get the army out of position is helpful, no doubt about it. Lurker's not in position, Spore Crawler's not in position, Queen's not in position, so on and so forth, but the air army of the ZERG is also fairly quickly to respond, so you gotta be careful, but I love the swaparoo. Air on the left, ground on the right. Lambo was not expecting this. Nothing to help defend his 6th, 7th. That was 6th. And while this air army didn't threaten the hatchery so much, it did just clear out a lot of creep. It does keep its stance on Lambo's side of the map, which is both encouraging and discouraging. I mean, he could be pounced upon, and that would be very bad. But if he is controlling his army well, then Lambo just kind of has to respect it, right? He can't just go in and try and kill this army, get his Vipers feedbacked, his Corruptors stormed? They're a storm, okay. And whatever else would happen, right? He's got to prepare for the best possible engagement, which easier said than done. Especially with MaxPax continue to threaten with the ground army on the right side. You can see Lambo is struggling, can't quite get his, you know, perfect engagement. He wants it, but he can't get it. There we go. Finally getting the abduction of the Mothership at the very least, taking that out. High Templar is also in danger on the ground, by the way. Storm's gonna have to be used to try and save them, but also does injure them. Drones go down. Mothership does, or not the Mothership, the Nexus gets the recall. Poor carrier gets taken down, but the ground arm on the right side was killing drones that were trying to reinforce. They're trying to saturate this 6th base. More Zealots come in because they're easily spammable. MaxPax has 3,500 minerals in the bank. They cannot take on Lurkers, but they can be thrown elsewhere around the map and get cancels on hatcheries, get kills on drones, something that Lambo would not be very comfortable with. Lambo has never had the biggest bank, and now is even struggling to round out his army. His mineral base is quite low. When I say round out his army, I mean more spellcasters. Infestors might eventually be on the way, but It's gonna wait for pathogen glands, try and take an engagement. Viper gets feedbacked and killed. It does trade at least for one carrier. Here we go. This actually might be it. Lambo gunning for it. Over a overcharge. Archons form in. The capital ships might be dead, but then what about all these corruptors? They could be chased down. I mean, or not, actually. They could literally not be chased down, and that's so much that Lambo is supplied just down the gutter. And Lambo does not have a ground remax. I think he was kind of prepping for one, because I saw some Hydras on the way, but he really does not have a ground remax. He is dependent on 5 lurkers. That's not very impressive. 2 Hydras, 10 Lings, and that's it for the ground. MaxPax is going to overwhelm Lambo via the ground by the looks of it. Lambo just could not get set up for a super long PvZ. He was the one struggling to get another base up. He was the one struggling to get that safe remax bank, which we know that Zergs need. Even with one of the best engagements possible, the idea is usually that Zerg's gonna remax, you know, a bit faster than you. And Lambo could not do that. GG. The world is truly a magical place. In the top left of Babylon, up 1 now, he is MaxPax. In the bottom right, we have Lambo. They got into one of the more passive late-game PvZs that we've seen lately. And it ended up being, well, by the end of it, much better for MaxPax. I think the whole sum of the game to consider now, after 20 minutes, 17 minutes, whatever long it was, I think MaxPax did just play better. Yeah. I don't feel very strongly about saying this because I didn't think there was really anything... I don't know, there wasn't anything really cool that happened. But Lambo basically tried to do a lurker gut punch. Like, I'm in lurkers really quickly, what are you on? And then that was, they say haphazard. That didn't really have a lot of gusto. Didn't seem that impressive when MaxPax held against the lurker push. And then, you know, the Lings were a bit bothersome. The Lings were the highlights of the game for Lambo. But that's not saying too much. And then from then on, Lambo seemed like he was the one that was then behind on, you know, getting to the late game. Certainly was already engaging poorly, just as Zerg goes. He was trading out the resources unfavorably. And when it became apparent that he could not continue to expand according to those resource trades, MaxPax was going to win. You know, it was a slow death, but it was a death that we could all kind of see coming as soon as Lambo didn't have a bank. So like I said, even if he had taken the best engagement possible with that last engagement that he did take, even if it was the best one possible, the lack of bank was always going to be troublesome. So yeah, I just, I was scared for both of them at certain times, but it's clear that both of them at least understood kind of what the direction was going. And then Lambo was simply capped out on base mineral income, primarily. He had 100 minerals and 600 gas at one point. A bit surprising. So MaxPax won the long passive game. He kind of won the initial mine game as well, if you remember that. The oracles came in. And then he certainly won a lot of the ground-based engagements. I mean, I guess when I think about it, it just felt like MaxPax was better at every single situation. Well, let's see if that continues. He is going to change things up and actually go into a Twilight Council this game. So this is going to play a little bit into the last game opener, right? Lambo got a little bamboozled. Dealt with it pretty okay, but he did. Now, he's maybe second-guessing himself, saying, okay, what if he's bamboozling me again? What if he is going into double oracles and a bunch of adepts? So that's the troublesome part for Lambo, who might have again seen, I should be paying attention to the warp gate timing, but probably has seen the warp gate timing that signals Twilight Council, and would usually say, oh, it's Twilight Council, so warp gate coming out quickly. But because the last game went the way that it did, it's like... It does look like so far we're not getting some extreme reaction to a non-existent Stargate. No spores are coming down, so I assume Lambo will go ahead and slap down that Roach Warren. Oh, just as I'm speaking. I actually thought it was going to be a couple of more drones later, but whatever. And that is good news, because that is actually what is happening. So Lambo, I mean, not overthinking things, I suppose, is a good sign. It's a good thing. However, this is interesting. Wait, no. Well, he's not going to try and grab a third base too quickly. He's going to go for gases first, so he could be going into disruptors immediately after. Do you need both gases? Do you go for the immortal follow-up? I don't know, we're going to find out. No, okay, so it's gonna go into, well, Disruptors or Colossus immediately. Yeah, that makes more sense. Nope. So far, the Adept's not really being all that problematic. Lambo does need to be wary about potentially over-defending the first phase of this. He is scouting that lack of third nexus. Scouting it and scouting it and scouting it and scouting it and scouting it. But he still has to deal with the Adepts. And the Ling will get cleaned up, so they'll never know if that's actually true or not. Here come the actual Adept attacks. That's, what, 10 Adepts? But I think that's a really appropriate number of ZERG army, right? Yeah. Especially as the Adepts are not mixing it up, trying to head into different directions. Oh, spoke too soon. War Prism in the main base. But that is easily counterable. Adepts try and go into the third, and that is the vulnerable position. Lambo not sending any of his army over there, but does pull the drones really quickly. 2 drones went down. No game heart, maybe. And that's not very good. But so far, not a whole lot of damage. Lambo giving proper consideration to a potential Dark Shrine follow-up, but it's not that. It is going into a Disruptor drop follow-up, perhaps into Colossus after that. War Prism successfully saved. It does want to ferry around those Disruptors, so it's a good thing it got saved with all of its health intact. And MaxPax has now gained a slight economic lead just by forcing the ZERG to build army. And certainly has a technological lead. I mean, Disruptor is already out when Lambo's lair is only just starting. So Lambo's not going to have, well, any upgrades. No Evolution Chamber quite yet. And he's not going to have Roach Speed for a while. Roach Speed would be very helpful for dodging out Disruptors, you know? I don't think Disruptors are necessarily going to be thinking about killing Roaches for this particular phase. More so looking to distract, harass, kill drones, kill queens, probably, but eventually there will be a main attack. And those Roaches don't have speed, and they're off of creep. Forget about it. Forget about it. Adept's trying to find some amount of units, maybe the queens, maybe some lings, just not all combined together. I mean, Lambo is under constant harassment. He doesn't really have time to even check if that third base, hey, did actually go down. That Overlord can't even see it. Disruptors do land a shot, kill a queen, but the War Prism takes some damage, so MaxPax still has to be very, very, very careful. Colossus being built up with that +1 blink, finishing 2 more gateways being added on. Where is Lambo on his journey? He's getting +1 melee finally, Roach Speed as well, and a Baneling Nest, but, well, his economy is probably fine, right? 73 drones on would-be 5 bases if these both complete. I don't know if the building up of the army is coming in fast enough or good enough. Lambo, by this point, seeing the War Prism follow up and all that, he knows the directions in which MaxPax can take this game. So it could be a move out, could be a 4th base. Gonna need to check that. And for MaxPax, it almost feels like he can't really choose incorrectly. Well, of course, you can move out on the map and just get surrounded and die. But even if he moved out on the map, assuming that he played it safe, he has force fields, he has recall, he has a Warp Prism. He could probably even engage Lambo's budding army. It's really not that impressive right now. Even army supply, but Lambo's on these basic Ling Roach Ravagers, right? And then if MaxPax stays at home, Lambo's max out and attempt to kill MaxPax will be happening when Lambo is at 200 supply. MaxPax will be at, like, what, 170, 180? And that's just not a good engagement for the ZERG player. You would depend entirely on the Protoss screwing up at that point. So like I said, it kind of feels like MaxPax can do whatever he wants, aside from just rolling his face across the keyboard and entering into the creep. Like, don't do that, and you're probably fine. MaxPax is going to send a hallucination out. He wants to know if his opponent's moving on. moving on to a hive or still continuing to build up a ground army. If it was building up a ground army, MaxPax is going to be totally fine, I would say. And if he is going into a hive, well, then that's when MaxPax maybe starts to move out. Try to catch him at a weak moment. No hive seen. Infestation pit wasn't seen either, I believe. So it does look right now like Lambo is dedicating more so to the ground army. If MaxPax does move out, he still has to be careful. Don't get surrounded. But he can take on this army at this point. Only a 20 army supply difference. We know how good Protoss is. Oh, especially if you get the disrupt shot. And Lambo's got to hope for a good engagement into a rather quick remax. So he wants to take the engagement on MaxPax's side, but it's going to be difficult. Force fields get slapped down. Shield battery could cover a lot. Colossus could be microed. Here comes the other army. Actually, a bit late to pulling back those Colossus, potentially. One Colossus is definitely a goner. Warpers need to unload its disruptors before it can help save those Colossus. It's actually going a little bit too weird. MaxPax, not exactly with the most ideal defense possible, but I guess it does its trick anyways. 14 probes go down, but MaxPax holds on to a large Protoss army, and he has adepts. Those adepts from the very beginning of the game. Going back into the third base and killing, or I think it was the fifth actually, killing a couple of drones, doing a bit of distraction. MaxPax still has his 4 bases up, still has, as I was saying, a decent Protoss army, but that was about as awkward as it could be. Ideally, and it's hard to be ideal, for sure. The force fields come down, the army backs away, the disruptors drop out from the warp prism and hit the army on the north. And then also mean that the warp prism is free to juggle. But clearly MaxPax, I think it's a little caught off guard by the army on the north. That's what it looked like. Which is kind of surprising. And Lambo has given himself some breathing room. You know, he did take an engagement well enough on MaxPax's side of the map that he is capable of remaxing. He's still not capable of remaxing and going up to Vipers, though, and that's a potential problem. Vipers would be excellent against the Robo-based army, but they're not here, so it's Banelings trying to get those connections. They go for the heart of the Stalkers, so MaxPax is forced to split that, but still saving his Colossus as well, and that's the most important thing. The Stalker count is starting to dwindle. More reinforcements are coming in. No Disruptors, no Immortals to help out here. And Lambo is potentially cracking the Protoss player. Wide open? No, the Remax isn't strong enough. Nope, nope, just kidding, nope. Like, that would have really been scary if Lambo was instantly remaxing, you know, back up the 180 supply in the blink of an eye. Then you're really worried for the Protoss, but you can see that Lambo is struggling to even get ahead in supply at all. And that's a bad, bad sign for the Zerg player. One Viper will make an appearance, and hey, that one Viper will help. But Warp Prism once again coming in, distracting, trying to get some damage done. Mostly distracting as MaxPax moves his army onto creep, onto the 4th base. Archon's coming in to add some tankiness, which I guess they've also been kind of missing for some of the earlier engagements. Would have made those easier. Another Viper being produced as soon as Lambo has enough gas. He's like, get a Viper! Ooh! The MaxPax does have Templar Archives, that's why I made the Archons, so he could get feedbacks available. Now, he scouted the Hive. It's very likely a Viper will be produced eventually, but currently not getting any of those High Templars. Still using the Warp Prism as well to harass, not to reinforce the main army. The harassment is just the distraction that he needs to actually kill this base. I think MaxPax actually giving Lambo a bit too much credit. He doesn't know how tough it's been for Lambo to remax, so he's like inching his way forward when he probably could have just leaped forward. But now the army is here with the Vipers, and you can see that tiptoeing was probably the better idea. Playing it safe was the better idea. Does mean the base will survive when I really don't think it should have. I feel like MaxPax had more time than he thought he did, but oh well. Now MaxPax onto a 5th base, Storm on the way. Lambo has survived, I think. The scariest part of the game, I really don't think he was set up well. This game is now looking like a more favorable position for the Zerg player, but I think if you actually watched the rest of this game, you would say that the Zerg player is in the more troublesome position, trying to defeat a Protoss player with robo units, shield batteries, cannons, high ground, force fields, when your supply is only 10 above theirs. As that basic Zerg army is not supposed to win. maybe eke out a victory and then remax and eke out a victory and remax and eke out a victory. And that is what happened, but definitely not supposed to win-win. Feedbacks are here, but the Viper is being controlled well. They do eventually need to go in and try to abduct. There's the feedbacks, but the High Templars give their lives for it for the most part. One Archon form, that's going to be it. Banelings rolling into the probe line. Also killed the Colossus, of course, and MaxPax is going to have to tap out. GG. I'm not sure about that game. I'm not sure. I'm really not. It felt like MaxPax couldn't take a good engagement with that type of army. I really think it was a pretty ideal position for a lot of Protoss players. When he was almost maxed out with Colossus, 2 Disruptors, Stalkers, and a couple of Sentries. But then not being able to micro, not being able to prepare as much for that first engagement, and then not building any more sentries maybe didn't help. Yes, sentries get broken by corrosive bile, but that temporary blockage is still something. And then I guess, I mean, the real easy army for Protoss, I suppose, is Mass Archon. I would say that's usually the army we see just be unbeatable. Get 10 Archons and you roll through the center of the map. But I didn't think his non-Archon army was bad at all. And yet it kept getting overwhelmed. In the top left it is MaxPax, bottom right it is Lambo. I'm sure there's something else I'm not considering, but it just feels like a very different... felt like a very different Protoss player that game. The first game, there was a lot of control and confidence. But the second game almost looked like a... Oh, it obviously wasn't as bad as some casual player, but it looked more like a casual player. It looked more like a budding pro gamer than the potentially best Protoss in the world, where, I don't know if you've had this happen. I certainly have. Where you're like, I know what the ZERG is gonna do. I'm gonna defend. Here's how I'm gonna do it. Okay, force fields, and then move this and move that. Okay, I'm good. Oh shit. Oh, it's everywhere. Oh god. Like, that's what it felt like. When you watch some of the best Protoss control their Protoss armies, like Showtime is one of the best examples, it's really this really delicate dance. And you look at all the the little details. And you're like, oh, wow, okay, awesome, cool. He pulled this back just like that little bit much, and he had this just that little bit much. But MaxPax was kind of just was like, nah. He did not have Storm. I don't know. I actually don't know if it was late. Storm is not gotten particularly quickly in a lot of PvZs. Like in the first game, for instance, he used... Did he ever use Storm? Despite it being a super long game? He must have, but not very often. And his plan was definitely not to get to Quick Storm to begin with, so whether or not he meant to get Storm before that final killing blow, I don't even think is really the issue. It is a issue, but is it the issue? I don't know. Still feel like the issue, capital the, is that MaxPax's defense, given a prime situation, was not that impressive. And I don't mean to make it sound easy. I just, the bar has been set very high. And so the pressure comes along with it, right? When you get good, people expect you to be good and be perfect, and then it's up to you to reach that goal, I suppose. Reach that height. So we did in the first game. Second game, a little less so. And it's my take on the situation anyways. So Lambo is the one that definitely had to do something and was not in an ideal position, but he still won. And did Lambo do anything particularly genius or super well executed? I wouldn't really say so. I mean, I really thought that was a rather basic attack from the ZERG player. Not to say that it wasn't good. That's the expected. You split up your army, you come in for 2 different angles, you know? Yeah. As you can tell, that game did not go that all the way I expected it to. But I think we can all be happy that Lambo is fighting back. Don't mean to sound super MaxPax bias, but Lambo was the one in that low-tech ZERG position against the building super-tech Protoss army. I guess the brilliance was in the attacks, the timing of them, and the composition of them. Perhaps more Baneling-focused than otherwise. Could be. Actually threw MaxPax off guard. Huh. These Adepts are getting into a nice nook, aren't they? A little comfy. The drones tried to physically stop them by the looks of it, but that didn't really work out, and then they tried to move over to the natural, and that didn't work out either. Oracle swoops in at the perfect time to add on just a couple of extra kills there. 6 drones killed in total for 2 Adepts. Yeah. Yeah. You take that. Roachborn is coming down for Lambo. I'm gonna ask why, but it's because he's gonna go into a Roach-based composition. I'm so used to so many Zerg players going for the Evolution Chamber for the Fast +1. I'm just like... Roachborn? Nah. No, he's gonna go into Roaches. So MaxPax gonna want to scout that. Or the lack of Evolution Chamber. The lack of Lings in general. But the no layer, no upgrades. Still building drones, however. I don't expect it all in. Just getting the Roachborn for safety. MaxPax is going into a regular third base. Is he? He's all-inning. It's like, but okay, 45 drones actually isn't that much. Okay, all right. He did have to rebuild 9. So, okay. This is so awkward though, isn't it? I don't know. It's a very large map. That's gonna be a lot of room to get across. The Roaches are unscouted, and he has done that thing where you saturate the third base and you leave the natural. Yeah, Lambo's all in. MaxPax, I don't believe, has picked up on it, right? Until just this second. He did not get in and install the lower drone count. He does not have shield batteries done yet. He is only building them now, and Lambo's all in. Hey, it might just work. It might take forever to get across the map, but it's going to take forever for MaxPax to actually be ready to defend it. This really has taken forever to get across the map, though. We're finally here! Finally! So the static defense is kind of perfectly timed. Oracles are still going to be able to help out as the Queens can only do so much moving, right? They can only get so close. Overcharge is going to be brilliant to have as well, and this does seem like it's okay for MaxPax. Overcharge still intact. Cannon still intact. Oracle still intact, and yeah, that was... well, I think it just went all back to the drone kills, didn't it? Didn't it? Lambo having to build up a still solid drone count after taking so much drone damage really did not help an all-in in particular. You know, as far as a macro game, maybe there's other chances for you to play risky, go way greedy versus having to build army. But if you're going to try and hit a timing attack, or trying to hit an all-in, any disruption is, you know, potentially catastrophic, and I think that was the issue. Because you can't really... I don't think you can expect to be unscouted for much longer than Lambo was. I mean, your Queens start moving off of that creep, you're scouted, right? So... it's supposed to be one of those attacks that just hits so ferociously that it doesn't necessarily matter that it's shown on your side of the map. But it really was not ferocious at all. It really wasn't. It was a wet noodle. I mean, I'm totally happy for the attempt, of course. I think Lambo should be throwing in a couple of all-ins, but that was not it. Unfortunately. So Lambo is on his last life. In what is one of the quicker open cups. We did miss a couple of names, I think. Didn't see Mana in there. Showtime didn't sign up either. In the bottom left, on his last life, it is Lambo. In the top right, we do have MaxPax, who holds against that all-in with relative ease. And is one step closer to winning the European Open Cup. Is he the winningest Protoss of the European Open Cup? It wouldn't surprise me if he was. Protoss don't win very often. Zergs win even less. Sad Zerg noises. Womp womp womp. Let's follow the probe just to do something while I'm looking up the medals one here. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Here we go. Here, Marine at 57 medals, Clem 46, MaxPax at 21. There you go. There you have it. Raynor at 16, Showtime at 15. I think Showtime would have a way more if he signed up as religiously. Maybe not way more, but he'd have more. And then the drop-off from that point is actually pretty extreme. Showtime with 15 medals. The next winningest player is Seoul with 4. So 57, 46, 21, 16, 15, 4. Lambo has won 3 medals himself, actually. He has a couple of good runs. And then some unexpected names with at least 1 gold medal for them. Like Acheron, Neeb. Anyways. The point is, I was correct. MaxPax is the winningest Protoss. He is also probably the most consistent sign-up. So that does help. Nowhere close to Clem or here Marine's medal count, but still. Lambo once again forsake his third as is natural. That's been consistent. If you were wanting me to talk about that, there you go. I am paying attention now to that warp gate coming out first and foremost. But it would not surprise me if MaxPax has done this literally every single time just to confuse Lambo. Definitely confused him in the first game. We got confirmation on that. Oh, he starts it and then he cancels it. Okay. I wonder if it's also a safety thing, because you know that's not much deceiving going on. There's not much deception. The Overlord's literally right there. I wonder if it's a safety thing. Or change your mind thing? Either way. It is a Stargate. Lambo should pick up on that. I guess in the off chance that he's not paying attention for 2 or 3 seconds, he might not have noticed it was canceled. I do wonder if that is what's happening. But we will be able to determine whether or not Lambo is prepared for a Stargate based on the actual Spore Crawlers, right? So we'll just hold off on that one. It is Stargates. Oracle should be coming out very soon, actually right now. More Adepts are being built. Could have that Oracle Adept pressure. Once again, in the last game, it was beautiful. It was actually very much... In a way, it was game-ending. In a way, that last game's Adept Oracle pressure was game-ending. It's weird to say it because... You know, they didn't force the tap out there, but it drastically affected Lambo's All-In. This one not doing nearly as much so far. Overlord has seen nothing but Adepts being built. Might have seen the Warp Gate cancel and restarts. I do not see any Spore Crawlers, but the Queens are well positioned. So that's, you know, that's actually very much what a Zerg should be doing. Not relying on the sacrifice of a drone, but rather on 2 Queens being well placed. So that plus no Roachmorn. Yeah, he did not get bamboozled by any Warp Gate stuff. And then the Oracle has not found very much damage at all. Only 1 kill, as the Queens were dragged a little out of position. Oracle's at home, helping to defend against any particular Ling run-bys, which Lambo has not gone for. He has enough to help out against the Adepts, but not much to try and kill an entire command Nexus, sorry. Evolution Chamber is coming down! Alright, +1 melee, let's go. Twilight Council and Forge following this up for MaxPax. No Robo as of yet. Could be providing some aggression on the field. He does have 4 gases, so it's not going to be anything super dedicated. Nothing super dedicated. Defecated. You ever have the problem of saying too many words? Ah! Wow, that Oracle didn't die. Oh! Did Lambo not focus fire? He might not have. Sometimes he cancels it into Stargate, sometimes he doesn't cancel into Stargate. Real mind game. Yeah, yeah. True. He just basically does everything and then forces the other guy to guess. I'm pretty sure Zergs have been bamboozled one too many times to only rely on the warp gate timing. But there was that first game. So, I mean, the extra bamboozle happened because MaxPax made sure to clear out the Ling Scout. So that was the, like, the contingency of the ZERG player that also got destroyed. So there is that. ZERG's relying on the Overlord Scout and the Lings running around if they can. I actually 100% thought it was going to be Blink, but it is not. It is going to Charge and Templar Archive, some classic PvZ coming out here. All 6 gases being gotten, lickety-split. Lambo is going to have some trouble if he's only going to be on Lings against this. And that's probably what MaxPax is hoping for. Charge Archon against someone with Mass Ling. Could be a good time. Yeah, finally that weakened Oracle goes down. Kind of deserved it, honestly. Quick revelation, once to scout the gases, once to scout the drone counts, once to scout the main base as well, but didn't actually get a full scout there. So it doesn't see the evolution chamber, the Roachwarren, or the building Baneling nests. But I think MaxPax, maybe with the fact that it's just not an all-in, honestly. And he does see some Roach production. But he also saw a lot of Lings. Yeah, I'm going to say basically because it's not an all-in, he's going to assume that it is +1 melee. And now we can click on those Lings and see that it is +1 melee. Roaches are going to be here to help out, of course. They don't just go pure Ling forever and ever and ever, but the Archons certainly ensure that the early game run-bys, little pokey pokes, aren't going to do a whole lot. Lambo has not yet determined that it is actually Charge and Archons. Saw a 5th gas, not a 6th. Now he knows. Now he knows, that's for sure. Oracle's cleaning up some creep tumors. Warp Prism being deterred from the 4th base. And MaxPax is not going to be eager to move out. Not going to try and hit some timing attack with this army. Pressure, sure, but not going to overinvest, as Lambo really is not in the mood to be killed right now. He is building up quite the ZERG army. Now, this is really what you would want to see, all right? Going back to that second game, which still kind of makes me ponder, makes me wonder. I mean, it just, the supply was so freaking close. And it wasn't like MaxPax was on mass charge lot, and that's why the supply was close. MaxPax was on a good army, only 10 or 20 supply down, which is nothing in this matchup. Look at what happens when a ZERG player is properly set up to go into Ling, Baneling, Roach Ravager. Look at this supply gap. MaxPax has not taken damage. He's not really done anything wrong. And yet there is still a almost 60 supply gap. That's PvZ. That's when the Protoss is going to have a lot of trouble defending. Now, I guess I would say that MaxPax did go rather quickly into Disruptors, which are hit or miss. And that's taken up some would-be supply, I suppose, but if he uses them appropriately, he's good to go. And using them appropriately might be getting good hits, but also just might be buying time. This Disruptor on the top side, hoping to find that big shot. No, not really. Not really. Some Zealots in the top left tackled some Lings, and it did favor the Lings, but only somewhat. Zealots on the bottom side as well. MaxPax refusing to just be the defender. He's playing a very dangerous game. He is moving on to creep. Disruptors, if they get surrounded, even if 1 or 2 of them get a good shot, it might not be enough. So, like, really careful. Like, really quite careful here. Thank you, Kaiser 66666 for the Prime sub. The devil! Anyways. MaxPax, by being somewhat aggressive, but making sure to never really engage, has lessened that supply gap, but here we go again. Not expecting the army from the top side. A bit late to pull. The Baneling shots, or rather the Disruptors on the Banelings, are pretty freaking good, though. Most of the Disruptors, well, 2 of them will live. Some of the Archons will live, but only some of them. The supplies do remain relatively even. Another Disruptor shot on the left side. Not going to find a whole lot, but thank goodness for Shield Battery Overcharge. Hell of a drug! Oh my god. Went on top of Archons, is what I was going to say. The probes almost suicided themselves, but they fortunately pulled back, and Lambo has been dealing with Zealot run-bys that entire time. So that was his one big attack, and it did not work. So he does tap out. GG. MaxPax wins 3-1, and will get another medal. 22nd win of the European Open Cup. GG's. GG's. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast and the games. Like I said, one of the shorter